about EV motor types, and this happens to be a very important topic because the motor in this case is the prime mover. Okay, so it is responsible for giving all the motive power, and in one of the previous webinars we saw that what are the desired characteristics of an EV motor, the torque versus speed curve and the power versus speed curve. So we saw that what is expected from the motor. Now comes the question that which type of motor would be able to fulfill that requirement. Okay, to do that, what we have on the screen now is a configuration or a classification of electric motors. Okay, so we have to keep in mind there are two major categories of machines, electrical machines. Okay, or motors. Okay, so here the first category is one which generates electromagnetic torque. So when I say it generates electromagnetic torque, that means there are two magnetic fields and both the magnetic fields interact, and in the process they produce torque. The second category of machines are the ones which produce reluctance torque. Okay, so in that case you have only one magnetic field, and that magnetic field sees a changing reluctance. Okay, as the rotor moves, the reluctance keeps on changing, and the motors produce reluctance torque. So that's the difference between an electromagnetic torque and reluctance torque. Now, uh, predominantly we use machines which produce electromagnetic torque because they tend to have more power density and more torque density. So when I say power density, it means more kilowatts per kilogram, and they also have higher specific volume, that means more kilowatt per liter. Similarly, they produce more torque from a given volume if you produce electromagnetic torque, and to produce electromagnetic torque we should have two excitations. Now depending on that, this is a general classification of the electrical machines from the point of view of excitation. Okay, so we can have a machine which is an AC machine. That means both the excitations are from AC sources. Okay, so to the stator you give AC, and to the rotor also you give AC. So you have AC kind of a machine. Then you have AC-DC. That means to the stator you give an AC excitation, and to the rotor you give a DC excitation. Then you have the AC magnet. Okay, so to the stator you give an AC excitation, and to the rotor you use, for the rotor you use magnets. And again you have the reluctance kind of an excitation. That means to the stator you give AC, and the rotor has no excitation. So if you see this first row, the first three machines are predominantly machines that produce electromagnetic torque, and the last one is the one which produces reluctance torque. Now if you want to take some example, then the first one is actually an induction machine, because to the stator you give an AC excitation, and because of the AC excitation in the stator it creates a rotating magnetic field. That rotating magnetic field induces an EMF in the rotor, and that EMF itself is AC with some frequency. Okay, so AC kind of an excitation is an induction motor. Now AC DC, these are synchronous motors. To the stator you give an AC excitation, and to the rotor you give a DC current. Clear? So those are the synchronous machines. And with the magnet excitation, so since you're giving an AC excitation to the stator, but for the rotor you use DC excitation, so the examples can be like permanent magnet machines, PMSMs, BLDCs, and so on. Okay, and here for the last one in the first row, AC reluctance. So these are the machines like the synchronous reluctance machines or switched reluctance machines. Now, if I give an AC excitation to the stator, sorry, DC excitation to the stator, then the only option that I have is that I have to give an AC excitation to the rotor. Okay, so these are DC AC machines. So the first alphabet or the first two alphabets represent the excitation that we give to the stator. So to the stator I give a DC, then to the rotor I have to give an AC. Okay, I cannot have a machine in which both the stator and the rotor have a DC excitation. No such machine is feasible. Secondly, there cannot be any machine where to the stator I give DC excitation and for the rotor I use magnets. Similarly, there is no motor feasible where to the stator I give a DC excitation and in the rotor I use no excitation. Okay, so if to the stator I give DC excitation, then there is only one configuration feasible where I give an AC to the rotor. Now, there's an example of such machines as well. These are the classical brushed motors or the DC motors, if you remember from your engineering machine classes, okay, that you must have done in BTech. So you have a field excitation which is on the static part, the stator, okay, and then you have an armature. So the armature was the rotor. So to the rotor you gave a DC, isn't it? But the DC was given through the brushes, and the brushes were in contact with a commutator, and the job of the brush and the commutator was actually to convert that external DC that you gave to the rotor into an AC excitation. So in principle, in the armature or the rotating part or the rotor, the current inside the winding was always AC. Okay, the brushes and the commutators did that job. So the brushes and the commutators were actually mechanical inverters. So we know about inverters using solid state devices like MOSFETs or IGBTs. They convert DC into AC. But in case of a DC machine, the classical brushed DC machine, the brushes and the commutators did the job of the inverter, and we used to call them as mechanical inverters. Similarly, another variant of the DC machine was that to the field winding, to the field, instead of using windings, you used permanent magnets, and the rotor was with brushes and commutators. Okay, so these were known as universal motors. So here, the difference between the second row and the third row is that in the second row, to the static part or to the field, you gave DC current to produce a magnetic field, whereas in the third row you gave a magnet, you used a magnet to produce the DC excitation. The rotor for uh, DC AC and magnet AC machines was exactly the same. It had brushes and commutators. Okay, so these are the classification of electrical machines that we can have based on excitation or different types of excitations that exist. Now, we can also have further classification of the machine. Okay, now this classification that we have on the screen is based on the direction of the magnetic field. Okay, so the magnetic field inside the machine can either flow in the radial direction or it can flow in the axial direction. We will come to that, how exactly the axial direction and the radial direction look like. There can be one more direction of the magnetic field inside the motor, which is known as transversal direction. Okay, so based on what kind of a direction of magnetic field that we have, you can have a radial flux machine, axial flux machine, and transversal flux machine. Okay, and based on the excitation, we can have AC excitation, AC DC. So the first two alphabets are for the stator and the second two alphabets are for the rotor. Then we can have AC magnet and AC reluctance. Okay, so for all these four types of sources, you can have a radial flux machine. Okay, whereas for the axial flux, you cannot have a machine where the rotor has reluctance kind of a nature and you want to have an axial direction of the magnetic field. So that you can't have. That is not possible, because in that case we cannot produce electromagnetic torque. Okay, by with the help of, I'll explain you with the help of figures, because the mathematics will become too complicated, so we will avoid the mathematical part. But you have to keep in mind that if you have radial direction of the magnetic field inside the machine, then you cannot have a motor which can produce reluctance torque. Okay, it's not feasible. Similarly, for transversal flux machine, okay, You cannot have a transversal flux machine where to the stator you give an AC excitation and to the rotor you give an AC excitation. So that is not feasible. Similarly, one cannot have a transversal flux machine where to the stator you give an AC excitation and to the rotor you give a DC excitation. Similarly, we can have a transversal flux machine if one of the excitations is AC and the other one is using a magnet. Okay, only for this special case we can have a transversal flux machine. And similarly, we cannot have a transversal flux machine if you want to produce reluctance torque. Okay, transversal flux machines, as a matter of principle, can produce only electromagnetic torque. And for these machines to operate, we can have an AC excitation either on the stator or on the rotor, doesn't matter. And one other source of magnetic field should be from the magnets, permanent magnets. Okay, you cannot have two magnetic fields created by currents. One of them has to be via magnet. So this is the classification that we have on the screen based on the flux direction. So in the previous slide we saw the classification of the machines based on the type of excitations, and here we have the classification of the machines based on the direction of the magnetic field. Now here on your screen, we have the classification of machines based on the number of phases. Okay, so in principle, you can have a 3-phase, 5-phase, and a 6-phase machine. Okay, so you can have 3, 5, and 6 phases on the stator. Clear? And also, this is a stator rotor machine. That means you have the stator, inside that is the rotor, and this is a rotor stator machine. That means you have the stator, and outer part of the machine is the rotor. So the first one, stator rotor, is known as inner rotor motor, and this one is known as outer rotor motor. So I don't know, I think you must have come across this term, which is known as hub motors. Okay, many of the two-wheelers use hub motors. So the hub motors are essentially rotor stator motors. So you have the stator and the rotor is outside the stator, it rotates around the stator. Okay, so these are known as outer rotor motors. So the rim of the wheel is actually the rotor, and the axle of the wheel is actually the stator. So that's how the hub motors are made. So the wheel itself is the rotating part, and inside that rotating part we put the stator. So that's the idea of rotor stator or outer rotor motors. So both for inner rotor and outer rotor machines, we can have a 3-phase, 5-phase, and 6-phase excitation. Okay, now let's see, based on the direction of the magnetic field, what is feasible. So if you have a radial direction of the magnetic field and you have an AC excitation on the stator and AC excitation on the rotor, then this falls in the family of induction motors. And you can have an inner rotor motor, you can also have an outer rotor motor, and you can have 3, 5, and 6 phases for inner rotor as well as for outer rotor. Now, if you have a category of machines where the magnetic field direction is radial, the stator gets an AC excitation and the rotor gets a DC excitation. So this family of motors is known as synchronous motors or synchronous machines. You can have an inner rotor configuration. You can also have an outer rotor configuration. Okay, and you can have 3, 5, and 6 phase machines. Now here, the third category is radial direction of the magnetic field. The stator has an AC excitation and the rotor has permanent magnet machines. Okay, so permanent magnet machines are again two types. You can have permanent magnet machines which produces predominantly electromagnetic torque. So EM means electromagnetic torque. Okay, so these are the brushless DC motors, or we call them in short BLDC. Or you can have a PM machine which produces a lot of reluctance torque. Okay, these are known as permanent magnet synchronous machines. They produce electromagnetic torque, but they also produce reluctance torque. Okay, for both category, you can have an inner rotor machine and you can have an outer rotor machine, and it is possible to have 3, 5 and 6 phases for both inner rotor and outer rotor. Now, if you have one more category of machines, which we saw already, the direction of the flux is radial, the stator gets an AC excitation, and the rotor is purely a reluctance type rotor. Okay, so these are known as synchronous reluctance motors without magnets, or synchronous reluctance motors with small magnets. Sometimes we use a very small amount of magnets in synchronous reluctance motors to increase their torque. Okay, so in this case, we can have only inner rotor machines. Outer rotor synchronous reluctance machines are physically, they are possible. Okay, math. If you see from the scientific principles, you can make them, but practically they are not possible to make. Okay, even if you make them, the torque and the power densities would be extremely low. So no one makes them. So only inner rotor motors are made, and you can have 3, 5 and 6 phases. Okay, similarly, you can have axial flux direction, and you can have an AC excitation on the stator and also on the rotor. So these are axial flux induction motors. You can have inner rotor configuration, you can also have outer rotor configuration, and you can have 3, 5 and 6 phases for both the inner rotor and the outer rotor configurations. Similarly, you can have axial direction of the flux, you can have AC excitation on the stator, and then you can have DC excitation on the rotor. So we will call them as axial flux synchronous machines. It is possible to have inner rotor configuration as well as outer rotor configuration, and one can have 3, 5 and 6 phases for the inner rotor as well as for the outer rotor. Similarly, you can have axial flux machines with AC excitation on the stator and DC excitation on the magnets on the rotor. So this falls in the category of permanent magnet machines. Okay, and we call them as axial flux permanent magnet machines. And they can have inner rotor as well as outer rotor configurations, and the motors can have 3, 5 and 6 phases for both inner and outer rotor. Now these are transversal flux machines, so you can have an AC excitation on the stator and magnets on the rotor. Clear? They're known as transversal flux machines, or there's a special name for them, claw pole machines. So it's like the claws of an animal. Okay, the configuration looks like a claw of an animal, like a bear or a tiger. So these are known as claw pole machines as well. And you can have 3, 5 and 6 phase excitations on the stator, but you cannot have an outer rotor configuration here. They have to be inner rotor configuration. So this is in principle the classification of the machines based on inner rotor, stator rotor, and also on the number of phases. So now if we want to extend the idea further, okay, we can have something which is known as a multi-port motor. Okay, so when I look for a multi-port motor, then it has 3 bodies, the 3 colors that you see. Okay, so here for example I have shown part 1 is red in color, then we have the outer air gap, the white part is air, then I have part 2 which is in green, then there is something a white ring which is the inner air gap, and then there's part 3 in purple color. Okay, so part 1, part 2 and part 3 are materials, ferromagnetic materials or copper or magnet, whatever it might be, and the white rings, 2 white rings that you see are the air gaps. So if you have a general motor of this type, then they are known as multi-port motors. Okay, now if we look into multi-port motors, then there are various configurations possible, many configurations possible. So to the red part I can give an AC excitation, to the green part I can give an AC excitation, and to the purple part I can give an AC excitation. So in this case it will become an induction motor with two rotors. The red part would be the stator, and the green and the purple parts would be two rotors. So it's feasible. Okay. Now the other can be, to the red part I give an AC excitation, to the green part I give an AC excitation, and here to the purple part, I for the purple part I use magnets. Okay. So in that case, I have a stator, then I have an induction rotor, a cage rotor, a squirrel cage rotor, and here I have a permanent magnet rotor. Okay. I can similarly here, the magnets can be arranged in such a way that the purple machine or the purple rotor produces electromagnetic torque. So the rotor will be something like a BLDC motor, brushless DC motor here. And in this case, the only difference is that the rotor which I will use for the purple part would be very similar to permanent magnet synchronous machine rotor. Okay. So that would be the distinction between these two machines. So similarly, you can start to play. So now if you can see here, you can have multiple configurations feasible if you have multi-port configuration. Okay. So multi-port means multiple rotating parts. So you can have, here you have two rotating parts and one stator. Okay. So these are the multi-port excitations. Dual port machines are where you have two magnetic fields. Multi-port machines are where you have three magnetic fields. Okay. So you can keep on thinking about various kinds of configurations that multi-port motors can have. I have shown these three on the screen, six on the screen. Then there are next six here on the screen, which you can actually sit down and also look at it, and you can keep on drawing, and you'll be coming to all the kind of configurations which I am trying to show you here. So whatever we have discussed earlier, we can actually map it onto multi-port motors as well. So the previous discussion which we saw in the previous slides that we saw, we had one stator, one rotor. Okay, just two ports. But here we have three ports. So that's why we call them as multi-port motors. Okay, so this way you can create many configurations. Okay, and I have tried to draw most of the configurations here. It's possible I might have missed something. You can also try to draw them and also see whether it is feasible to make it or not, and will it produce torque or not. Okay, so it's feasible to do that kind of an analysis. So these are all various kinds of multi-port motors that we can have. And if I combine everything together, okay, so this is a table which shows the configurations of various multi-port motors. So there were three parts. So this is part one, this is part two, and part three. Okay, so to part one, I can have an AC excitation, I can use permanent magnets, or I can have a reluctance kind of a configuration. If I give an AC excitation to part one, I can have three phase, five phase, or six phase excitation. If I use permanent magnets in part one, it can be something like in a BLDC machine, or it can be something like in a permanent magnet synchronous machine. Okay, same thing I can have for part three, also part two. For example, part two has, if it's an AC excitation in part two, then I can have three, five, six phases. Okay, I can also have part three, which has an AC excitation, and there can be three, five, and six phases. Part two can be AC, part three can be with permanent magnets, part two can be AC, part three can be with reluctance. So, kind of a configuration. So you can see there are multiple configurations feasible, and wherever there is a tick mark, it means it is possible to physically make such a motor, and wherever there is a cross mark, okay, it's physically not possible. For example, it's a very fundamental principle you have to keep in mind. If I have three phase excitation in part one, then I should have three phase excitation in part two, and I should also have three phase excitation in part three. Okay, I cannot make a machine where part one of the motor has three phase excitation, part 2 has 5 phase and part 3 has 5 phase. That's not possible. If all the parts of the machine gets an AC excitation, then the number of phases in all the parts should be same. Okay, so these are some of the general rules which will help you to decide which of the following combinations are feasible and which are not. Okay, so it's all a game of now various kinds of permutations and combinations, and all different configurations which are physically possible to make are actually listed here. Clear? And if I uh, do that, then gradually you will see that there are around 120 different configurations of motors which are feasible for an EV application. Okay, we can use 120 different kinds of machines, so the choice is huge. In the one of the earlier webinars, we discussed what kind of a torque versus speed curve an EV would need. Okay, and also what kind of a power versus speed curve would be necessary for an electric vehicle. Now, to meet that kind of a requirement, it is possible to have a choice from 120, around 120 different kinds of machines. So if you start to count all of these, then you will see that there are 120 configurations possible. So which one to choose for what application is the next question. Okay, and for that we need to do, or we need to understand some of the basic properties of the machines, and then you can make a good choice that okay, I have this kind of a vehicle type, maybe it's a car, and this is the torque versus speed curve that I need, and also the power versus speed curve. This is the volume constraint I have, this is the cost constraint that I would have. So let me choose a given specific type of machine. So you will always have, out of these 120, you will always have 6 or 7 types of machines which are very, very good for that application. Okay, now which one you will finally choose would be more of an engineering judgment and an engineering decision making that you will have to take.